Hi again, I'm Chris Colley, and thanks for joining me on my multiple myeloma journey. This video is being recorded on July 5th, 2024, shortly after 7 a.m. It is treatment day 47, chemotherapy day 36. You might notice that the look of the video has changed. That's intentional. The previous videos were about highlighting my sickness. The new videos will be about highlighting the healing journey of multiple myeloma kidney. That's not saying there aren't going to be speed bumps along the way, and I'll talk about every single one of those when they come up. But the goal is to beat this disease, and that's what these videos will be highlighting going forward. And that's why I have a warm look to the videos versus the cold look of the sickness videos. I planned on this video being about what I went through when I left the hospital on May 21st through the day before I began chemotherapy, which was May 30th. But something happened last night. At about 6 p.m., I was in the kitchen, and my shirt felt wet. I lifted my shirt and saw some blood on my chest. Something had gone wrong with my CVC for dialysis, the port that dialysis is run through in my chest. I could see that there were 2 cords hanging down. I knew that didn't look right. It's July 4th, a holiday in the United States. I have no idea what the hours of my dialysis clinic are. But I told Carol we need to drive over there right now and hope that they were still open. We get to the dialysis clinic at about 6:20. It is open. And Leo, my normal nurse, greets me at the door. He has no idea I'm coming. He's very surprised to see me. I told him, something's gone wrong with my CVC. Can you check it out? He sits me in a chair. He looks at it and says, oh no, you need to go to the emergency room. Your CVC is not sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. It's July 4th in Las Vegas, and I've just been told that I need to go to the emergency room. That was not a good feeling. But if the clinic had been closed, I would have been going to the emergency room anyway. So I'd kind of resolved that I was going to be probably going to the emergency room. Because of my experience at Centennial Hills Hospital, I was not going back to that emergency room, I'll tell you that. So I went to the Southern Hills Hospital emergency room, out of the way, but on the way from where we were. It's about 20 minutes from my dialysis clinic. Be quite a hike from where I live. But my research suggested that is the best hospital to go to in Las Vegas. And I wanted to try it out. I arrived there at about 6:45 p.m. It's a pretty small emergency room. There aren't that many seats in there when I walk in. The intake is very, very different than the Centennial Hills Hospital. It's just like a real nice reception area. I told them what my dialysis clinic told me, which is that my CVC was not in the right place and that it needed to be checked out and probably replaced. They take my blood pressure, take the rest of my vitals. They immediately take me back to a room with a bunch of comfortable chairs. This room has maybe 15 chairs in it. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And somebody comes and checks me out, and they see that there's something clearly off with my CVC. They're not really sure exactly what to do. They want to flush it. And eventually, when it does get flushed, this stuff just comes right out of the catheter at the top, showing that it's barely attached to me at this point. Again, I felt nothing when this catheter pulled out of place. I don't know what caused it. I have no idea. I'm very careful when I put on shirts and take off shirts. And I felt nothing that suggested my catheter was being pulled out of my chest. So probably a little bit over an hour in, they told me they're going to take an x-ray to see how the catheter is sitting inside my chest. And then they take it from there. The x-ray is taken, and they said, it's out of your atrium. It is barely hanging on by a thread. We are going to remove it. I said, okay. I was told there is a place called an access center where I can get this catheter replaced. And I'm going to be calling them soon, hoping that they will replace it before I go into chemotherapy today. I have no idea whether that's going to be the case. That'll be an update in a future video. All I know is I have dialysis tomorrow, And right now I don't have a catheter in my chest, so I have no way of getting that dialysis. And chemotherapy is obviously my priority right now. So we'll see if this access center is able to fit me in before my appointment. I hope they will. During the ER visit, they took blood work. And you know how eager I am to read any kind of blood work that I get. And the number I went straight to was creatinine. In that blood work, it was a 4.4. That is the lowest my creatinine has ever been. Still too high, but 4.4. My last measured creatinine was 6.7. So at least there was a little bit of good news out of the ER visit. Other than them taking the CVC out of my chest, because it had failed, they didn't do anything other than the x-rays and the blood work. And they told me where to call the next day to try to get this thing replaced. They said it was going to take too long to get it done at the emergency room, that it might take 2 or 3 days to get it done, and that going to the access center would obviously be the fastest way to get it done if I can get in. The question is whether the July 4th holiday is going to affect business hours at this access center. I'll be finding out soon. Another adventure. Another chance for something weird to happen. Another procedure. So I'm praying no infection, no complication, no pain, that they're able to put the new CVC in with no issues whatsoever. But this is the kind of thing that gives me a little bit of nerves. But I'm going to stay positive and get this thing replaced and move on. This video's title is my insurance trying to kill me? The reason for that is because when I left the hospital, I was buried in prior authorizations that wouldn't go through. I also had to contend with the Memorial Day holiday in the United States that presented all kinds of issues with my insurance and my doctor's office because they were closing down for the holiday. But first, I want to go back to the hospital. First thing I want to do is give kudos to the women who did my bone scans after I got my bone marrow biopsy on Monday, May 20th. They were the polar opposite of the parathyroid scans that I had to go through, where I experienced 10 out of 10 pain because I couldn't move and I had to be in a very particular position for a very particular amount of time. The two women who ran my bone scans went out of their way to make me as comfortable as possible during the bone scans. The reason the bone scans were being done was because at that point they didn't know whether the cancer was in my bones or in my blood. And the bone scans were intended to get to the bottom of whether it was inside my bones. Based on how my bones felt, I knew there was probably not going to be an issue there. But the scans took probably about an hour, and they only put me into an uncomfortable position for about 3 minutes. And it wasn't that bad. And they were so nice. They were amazing. And I want to make sure, even though I have no idea what their names were, that they're recognized for how great they were to me on that. Thank you so much. You made that one of the best experiences I had in the hospital. Your care was amazing. Your gentleness was amazing. Thank you. The last thing I want to talk about related to the hospital was that my pre-treatment began for multiple myeloma kidney when Dr. Bello and I were having our heated venting about me not being able to leave the hospital on that Monday. He told me there was one other thing that needed to be done before I could leave the hospital anyway. And that was starting my dexamethasone treatment to make sure that I could tolerate it. I said, well, let's go. I'm ready right now. And he came in and gave me 10 4-milligram pills to take. I took them. Didn't appear I had any kind of problem with tolerating them. And as I said, I was released on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. And I was able to make it to my appointment at 2 p.m. to see Dr. Henry Igid for the second time to find out what my treatment would be.